There used to be a toll booth on the old turnpike outside of Ashford, the kind with the wooden arm and the little brick hut, long since replaced by an automated scanner a half-mile up the road. The old booth still stands, though. Nobody ever tore it down. The county says it's cheaper to leave it than to demolish it. And maybe that's true. But Marcus Webb has another theory, and he's the only person still alive who took that turnpike on the night of March 3rd, 2 years ago. Marcus was driving home from his cousin's wedding, 3 hours from Ashford, exhausted, half a glass of champagne still working its way out of his system, when his GPS rerouted him off the interstate and onto the old turnpike to avoid a reported accident ahead. He didn't think twice about it. The old turnpike still technically worked, still had lanes, still had lines painted on it, even if nobody used it anymore. At 11:47 p.m., his headlights caught the wooden arm of the old toll booth, lowered across both lanes. Marcus assumed it was a maintenance thing, some contractor who'd forgotten to raise it after doing whatever contractors do to abandoned toll booths. He slowed, expecting to just push through the flimsy wooden arm if he had to. Instead, a light came on inside the booth. A man sat inside, older, maybe 60, wearing a uniform that looked decades out of style, the kind of gray and navy toll collector's jacket Marcus had only ever seen in old photographs of his grandfather's era. Marcus rolled his window down, mostly out of confusion. "Sir, I think this booth's out of service," Marcus said. The man in the booth smiled. His teeth were very white, almost too white, in a face that was otherwise deeply lined. "1 toll," the man said. His voice had an odd quality to it, like it was arriving a half-second later than his lips moved. "Just the 1. Won't take but a moment." "I don't have any cash on me," Marcus said, which was true. "Don't need cash," the man said. "Just need something of yours. Anything will do. A memory's fine. Folks don't miss those the way they think they will." Marcus laughed uneasy, the way you laugh at a joke you don't understand yet. "I'm sorry, what?" "Everybody pays a toll somewhere, son," the man said, and his smile didn't move, didn't shift at all, even as the rest of his face seemed to sag slightly, like wax left too near a flame. "This one's just more honest about it than most." Marcus's hands went cold on the wheel. Something about the stillness of that smile, paired with the slow drooping of the skin around it, hit some part of his brain that didn't need further data to make a decision. He threw the car into reverse. The wooden arm, he swore later, moved to follow him. Not fell, moved, pivoting on its hinge like a compass needle tracking north, staying leveled directly across his path, no matter how far back he went. The man in the booth didn't chase him. He didn't need to. He just sat there, smiling that too wide, too still smile, watching Marcus reverse for nearly a quarter mile down a dead turnpike in the dark. Marcus eventually found a break in the median, a gap wide enough to cut across into the opposite lanes, and gunned it in the direction he'd come from until the interstate on-ramp appeared like salvation itself. He filed a report with the county the next morning. An officer humored him, drove out to the old turnpike that afternoon, and called Marcus back within the hour. The booth was empty. Had been empty, boarded up, for 11 years according to county maintenance records. No electricity ran to it. No light could have come on inside. Marcus still uses the interstate. He deletes any app that offers to reroute him. And to this day, he says he can't remember his own wedding day. His own, not his cousin's. Clean gone, like a page torn out of a book, and he has never been able to shake the feeling that somewhere on the old Ashford Turnpike, a man in a gray and navy jacket is still smiling about it. Renee Hutchins had driven Highway 9 for 6 years. Every Tuesday and Friday, the same 40-minute commute from the distribution warehouse in Caldwell to the apartment she shared with her sister in Marsh Hollow. She knew every pothole, every faded speed limit sign, every deer crossing where the deer never actually crossed. She knew it, in other words, the way you know your own hallway in the dark, which is why the missing mile marker bothered her so much. It happened on a Friday in October, the kind of evening where the sun drops fast and the sky goes the color of a healing bruise. Renee left work at 6, same as always, merged onto Highway 9 at the Caldwell interchange, same as always. Mile marker 14, mile marker 13, mile marker 12, then nothing. Not a missing sign exactly. She'd have understood a missing sign. Signs got knocked down by storms, stolen by teenagers, run over by drunks. This was different. The road itself felt wrong, the way a word looks wrong after you've stared at it too long. The double yellow line down the center had gone slightly gray, like it hadn't been repainted in a decade, though she'd watched a crew repaint it herself just that spring. She checked her odometer. She'd gone 9 miles since the Caldwell interchange. Her commute was 11 miles total. She should have been almost home. Instead, the trees on both sides of the road had thickened into something that didn't look like the scrubby pine of Marsh Hollow. It looked older, taller, the kind of forest that doesn't care whether you're in it or not. She told herself it was fatigue. Long week, double shift on Wednesday. She was probably just zoning out behind the wheel and would blink and find herself at her own exit any second. Then the radio changed. It hadn't been on. She always drove in silence, a habit from childhood. Her father used to say a quiet car was a driver paying attention, but now it crackled to life on its own, dials spinning past static bursts until it landed unassisted on a frequency that played nothing but a woman's voice, calm, almost bored, reading a string of numbers. 14, 9, 22, 14, 9, 22. Renee reached over and stabbed the power button. The radio stayed on. She pulled the knob. Nothing. The voice kept counting, patient as a metronome, and somewhere under the numbers, so faint she almost convinced herself she'd imagined it, she heard the woman say one extra thing between the third and fourth repetition. "You're the 4th car this month." Renee's foot came off the gas without her telling it to. The car slowed to a crawl on an empty road with no other headlights in either mirror, and for the first time in 6 years of driving Highway 9, she had absolutely no idea how far she was from home. She did the only thing she could think to do. She turned the wheel hard onto the shoulder, threw the car into park, and got out. The night was warm for October, too warm, the air thick and unmoving, like standing inside a held breath. Behind her, the taillights glowed red against the road. Ahead of her and behind her, and on both sides the same stretch of pavement, the same faded double line, the same wall of black trees, repeating in every direction like a photograph copied and pasted into infinity. She heard footsteps, not fast, not sneaking, just steady, unhurried steps coming up the center line from somewhere behind the car. The sound of someone walking a road they knew, wasn't going anywhere, and were in no rush to get there anyway. Renee didn't turn around. She would tell her sister later that this was the part she couldn't explain, the part that made no sense even to her. She didn't turn around because some old animal part of her brain understood with total clarity that turning around was the wrong move, that whatever was walking up behind her wanted to be looked at, and being looked at was how it got you. So she ran, not toward the sound, not away in a straight line down the shoulder. She ran for the car, wrenched the door open, and did the last thing she could think of. She put the car in reverse and floored it, staring only at her rear-view mirror, watching the empty road behind her rush toward the windshield. The footsteps stopped. Renee reversed for what her odometer told her was almost a full mile, before the trees on either side thinned out, before the pavement brightened under a working street lamp, before the sighing for the cold well. Interchange rose up in her, headlights like the best thing she had ever seen in her life. She never figured out how she'd traveled backward through 9 miles of road in under a minute. She never told her sister about the radio, not fully, not the part about being the 4th car that month. She stopped taking Highway 9 after dark. If her shift ran past 6, she paid for a hotel room in Caldwell rather than drive home. 3 years later, a coworker mentioned, almost in passing, that the county had quietly decommissioned a 9-mile stretch of the old highway back in the 90s, closed it after a construction crew building the replacement route lost 2 men and simply refused to come back for a 3rd day of work. Nobody remembered why. The paperwork, when Renee finally found someone willing to look it up for her, was gone. Just a line in a budget report. Asterisk Highway 9, miles 5 to 14. Decommissioned, non-maintained. Asterisk. Renee still drives to work. She just takes the long way now, and she still keeps the radio off. Dale Osgood drove trucks for 18 years before the night he swore off the Route 40 corridor for good. He wasn't a superstitious man. He didn't believe in the black dog stories other drivers swapped over CB radio, the phantom big rigs with no driver behind the wheel, a gas station that some guys claimed sold food that never went bad because it had never been real food to begin with. Dale believed in logbooks, way stations, and getting paid on time. Then he picked up a hitchhiker at mile marker 118. It was just past 2 in the morning, deep in a stretch of Route 40 that ran through nothing but grazing land and dead radio signal for 60 miles in either direction. Dale saw the figure from a long way off, headlights catch a person walking a shoulder from almost a mile on a road that flat. A young man, maybe 25, jacket too thin for the cold snap that had rolled in that week. Thumb out, walking backward as he hitched so he could watch the truck approach. Dale didn't usually stop. Company policy said not to. Insurance said not to. His own gut mostly said not to. But something about the kid's face and his high beams got to him. He looked scared. Not cold scared. Scared the way you look when you're being chased. Dale eased the rig onto the shoulder. "Where are you headed?" Dale asked once the kid. He said his name was Tommy, had climbed up into the cab and pulled the door shut. "Wherever you're going," Tommy said. "Just away from here." Dale offered him the thermos of coffee, riding in the cup holder. Tommy shook his head fast, like the offer itself scared him. "You mind if I ask what happened?" Dale said. "You're pretty far from anywhere to be walking." Tommy didn't answer right away. He was staring at the side mirror, Dale noticed, not out the windshield at the road ahead, but at the mirror, watching the dark highway shrink behind them. "There's a car," Tommy finally said. "Following. Has been since mile 90. Dale checked his own mirrors. Nothing but black road and the twin red dots of his own taillights, reflecting off wet asphalt. "Son, there's nothing back there. There's nothing back there when you look," Tommy said. "It only follows people walking. That's the thing about it. You have to be on foot." Dale didn't know what to say to that, so he didn't say anything. He drove. Tommy kept watching the mirror. 20 minutes passed, then 30, and Dale had almost convinced himself the kid was just strung out on something, running from nothing but his own head, when Tommy suddenly went rigid in the passenger seat. "It found the truck," he whispered. Dale looked at his mirror again. "Nothing. There's nothing there, kid. You won't see it until it wants you to." Dale laughed, a short, uneasy bark of a laugh, the kind you use to convince yourself more than anyone else. And then his high beams swept across a road sign, mile 143, and in the half-second his eyes were on the sign instead of the mirror. Tommy screamed. Dale's eyes snapped to the mirror in time to see it. Not a car. Not headlights. A shape low and long and wrong, filling the entire lane behind them, close enough that it should have been slamming into his rear bumper, moving at a speed that made no physical sense for something with no visible wheels touching the road. Tommy was screaming a single word over and over, and it took Dale several seconds to make out what it was. "Faster, faster, faster." Dale put his foot to the floor. The rig, fully loaded, was never built for what he was asking of it, and the whole cab shuddered as the needle climbed, past a speed he had never once hit in 18 years of driving. He didn't look in the mirror again. He fixed his eyes on the white line and didn't blink, didn't breathe right, until the sky ahead started going gray at the edges with the first hint of dawn. When he finally worked up the nerve to check the mirror, the road behind him was empty. Just empty. The way it should have been the whole time. He turned to tell Tommy they'd made it, and the passenger seat was empty too. Seatbelt still buckled. Door still closed. No sign the kid had ever been there at all, except for a damp patch on the seat cushion, shaped almost like a person, that dried within the hour and left no stain. Dale pulled his rig into the next truck stop and didn't drive again for 3 days. When he finally looked into it, asked around, dug through old missing persons reports for that stretch of Route 40, he found a name. Thomas Rees, 24, reported missing 11 years earlier after his car broke down somewhere near mile 90. Never found. Dale still drives trucks. He just doesn't take Route 40 after dark anymore. And if he ever sees someone walking that shoulder backward with their thumb out, He keeps his foot on the gas and doesn't look at their face. If you drive I-79 north through the hill country, you'll pass an exit numbered 46. There's no ramp there anymore. The state closed it back in the 2000s when they rebuilt the interchange, just an old green sign, half swallowed by kudzu, still bolted to its post because nobody thought it was worth the paperwork to take down. Priya. Nazare says there used to be a gas station at exit 46. She says this very calmly, in the same tone she'd use to tell you what she had for breakfast, which is somehow the most unsettling part of the whole story. She was 19, driving her father's car back to college after Thanksgiving break, running low on gas around midnight with no other exits for another 40 miles. Her GPS unprompted highlighted exit 46 and labeled it simply *fuel*. She took the exit. The ramp was there, full paved, functioning, nothing like the overgrown stub it supposedly is today, and it curved down into a little service plaza lit up, gold and warm against the black hills around it. A single gas station, the old kind with a bell that dinged when your tires rolled over the hose, and a lit sign that read simply "Stop." An attendant came out before she'd even put the car in park. Older man, kind face, moved a little slow, like his knees bothered him. "Fill up?" he asked. "Please," Priya said, relieved. "I was getting worried." "Nothing to worry about here," the man said, and smiled in a way that, in the moment, felt entirely ordinary. While he pumped the gas, Priya went inside to use the restroom and grab a snack. The store was fully stocked. Chips, sodas, a rack of magazines with dates. On the covers that she didn't clock at the time but would think about later for years. She grabbed a bag of pretzels and a bottled water and set them on the counter. The cashier, a young woman about Priya's age, rang her up without a word. Priya paid in cash, $2.35, and the cashier handed her change, 2 quarters and a nickel, worn smooth and dated. Priya would later swear, from the 1970s. "You should get back on the road soon," the cashier said, very quietly, not looking up from the register. "Don't stop again till you're past the next town." "Why?" Priya asked. The cashier looked up then, and her eyes were tired in a way that didn't match her face at all. Tired the way you get after years, not hours. "Because we don't always let people leave," the cashier said. "Tonight we will. Just don't stop again." Priya didn't wait for an explanation. She paid, took her snacks, thanked the attendant outside, and pulled back onto the ramp. She made it maybe 2 miles before she started shaking so hard she had to pull onto the shoulder, and it was there, stopped, engine running, that she looked at her gas gauge. Full. She hadn't paid the attendant a cent for the gas itself. She'd never even seen a total. She drove straight through to campus without stopping, the cashier's warning looping in her head the whole way. And when she finally told a friend the story the following week, half expecting to be laughed at, her friend went pale and pulled up an old regional news archive on her laptop. Exit 46's gas station had burned down in 1979. Killed the 2 employees working the night shift, an attendant in his 60s and a cashier 19 years old, the same age Priya had been that night. The exit ramp was formally decommissioned 20 years later, but locals still tell stories about drivers who take it by accident, low on fuel, late at night, and who always report the exact same thing. A gas station that shouldn't exist, and a young cashier who always tells them the same thing. Asterisk, don't stop again. Asterisk,